Taste magazine at Bonnaroo 2009, and I'm here with Greg Gillis, better known as Girl Talk. So Greg, last night you performed to a huge crowd until almost like 4:30 in the morning. How did that compare to the first time you played at Bonnaroo?
Well, I definitely went on earlier last time, and I think that summer was basically the first time I really did any festivals. So Bonnaroo 2007 stands out in my mind as like one of the most fun festivals for that summer. I had a really good time. I thought the response was great. So I think this show was just a lot bigger, a lot later, and a lot more like insane and part of the crowd. Like the first year around we had some people on stage, but this year was like people climbing over barricades and climbing up on the tables and all of that stuff, which is cool. You know, it was kind of like the insanity of a normal club show was happening at the festival.
Yeah. Well, speaking of having people on your stage, I was curious, like, what's the craziest thing anyone's ever done that you've just kind of, when you've invited them on?
I've seen on a couple separate occasions normally at a club it's a bit like more the tight space, you know, there's like area, and sometimes we'll have inflatables on stage, so sometimes it's very busy up there, and on a couple separate occasions people have actually had sex on stage, but in such a way that it wasn't you know, it wasn't like they were showing off, or it wasn't like for a show, it was just like they were just having sex, like in the midst of like what was going on.
Pretty intense. I mean, yeah.
It's a huge, you know, it's obviously a huge compliment to me. It's something I take very serious. And yeah, it's exciting, you know, when people kiss at a show, or like high five or hug or whatever, those are all like ways to show that they're like into this particular moment. I feel like, you know, having sex on stage just at like next level, you know, that sort of progression.
Well, with how many songs you sample, I mean, can you picture how many, like, this is our song kind of thing? I mean, you probably run through at least a couple of them.
They'll probably have to like, you know, do it very quickly though, because it's like they usually sample songs for like maybe like 15 to 45 seconds. So I think that could be, you know, the sort of thing where it's like if you're going to have sex on stage, it's like you're probably, you know, in it for a sort of short-term sort of experience. Not, you know, it's probably not. I actually don't know. You know, I've never actually had sex on stage, but I would imagine it's more of like a quick sort of affair, not like, you know, not like we're gonna have sex for like the last 45 minutes of the show or whatever.
I can imagine. Well, you told Pace before that you're Greg Gillis and the computer, now your, you know, military computer is Girl Talk. So I was curious, like, do you start to see the computer as its own entity, or like kind of having a mind of its own?
A little bit, you know. I definitely consider myself Girl Talk to a certain degree, but yeah, it's its own little thing. You know, I use a few of them, so but I've stuck with the same main one. You know, I have a few computers at home, but I kind of perform with the same one. So that one definitely has some character to it to me, and I feel like that's with anyone with their phone and things like that. And you know, I hear about a lot of concepts about people and machines coming together, sort of Terminator style. That whole concept of like singularity, you know, the moment where you were like officially attached to machines and things like that. So I feel like that's, you know, one step away from that almost, and I think that's where we're all going. You know, we're all becoming attached to these machines that then become integrated into our lives, and then we need them, and then all of a sudden they're like implanted in our bodies and things like that. So I know I'm kind of getting on a tangent here, but yeah, I feel like the computer, to some degree, you know, it having a characteristic or it becoming its own being, it's like that. You know, you feel like it's you know, part of your band.
Right, and especially kind of as this 21st century instrument. You know, it's not a wooden guitar. It is something, you know, it's technology, but you still want to have the same intimacy.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people feel very close with their guitars and drums. Of course, you know, I think everyone to some degree has some sort of attachment to their computer, whether you make music on it or not. You know, it's a very personal thing, and think about all of the emotional experiences of, you know, reading emails or checking your Facebook updates and, you know, going like announcing to the world that you're single on Facebook and things like that. So yeah, I think it's, you know, it's inevitable. You know, I don't feel like, you know, I don't talk to my computer or anything like that, but I feel like, you know, everyone has this connection. It's hard to define. I feel like we're moving into an area though where it's going to become more and more, you know, a part of you.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap up and let you get back, you know, to the festival. I mean, you've sampled probably from a ton of people just at this show, including the headliners, you know, Beastie Boys, Bruce Springsteen. But if you could maybe make, you know, the Bonnaroo 2009 mashup, like, can you pick some songs by some Bonnaroo artists you'd like to?
Yeah, I mean, last night I played some stuff. I did remixes. I did some stuff that I don't typically do. So I did a little Dancing in the Dark Springsteen, which I've never sampled before. So I prepared that specifically for the show. and I did Al Green, Let's Stay Together, which is something I've been working on a little bit recently, and I did you know, a couple different Snoop songs, Dropped It Like It's Hot, and I did a couple different Beastie Boys beats as well. Check Your Head. I'm trying to think who else is playing. Oh, I do some Nine Inch Nails on the record and things like that. It's the first song off of Broken Wish. I sample with the Wish guitar. So yeah, I tried as much as possible. When I play a festival set, I don't want to force anything into the set that wouldn't normally be there. So I wouldn't sample anything I wouldn't sample anyway. But when it's like a lot of the artists here, I'm a big fan of, and people I would actually sample. So if I were to sample them, I try to actually sample them at the show.
Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. It was great meeting you.
Cool, thank you.